All right. Welcome back, folks. It's been a while. It's Cameron
Yeah.
Lynch and Jake Ellenbogen off the edge. We are here, especially as always, to Bleacher Report for having us. And today we're going to be doing something fun because, let's be honest here, Cam, it is a dead period in the offseason.
Yeah.
As good as anybody because, you played in the NFL. And July is like the closest thing that you get to like a summer vacation, if even,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
have that big, gap in between mini camp and training camp. So we're talking about intimidating players. We create our own team, the all intimidation team, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
It's like the holy smokes list. It's like, hey, in training camp, I need to go lift extra weights because I'm about to play against these guys, and I know we talked a little bit before the show, Jake, and all intimidating. What does that mean? And just from my playing days, from what I remember, intimidating team is like, who are the people that make you lose sleep at night? That's what this list consists of. It might also be people, with their physique, how, like, are these guys ripped? Are they jacked? And are they going to put me in a headlock, during the game? So just kind of want to set the table for what intimidating means.
oh, absolutely. Well, let's kick it off right away at quarterback. I don't know if there's anyone more intimidating than Josh Allen. Joshua Patrick Allen from Wyoming is a bad what, okay?
Yeah.
Because he's not just going to kill you with his arm. He's going to kill you with his legs, his torso, his stiff arm.
Yeah.
His head. This guy, first off, this guy is a running quarterback, but he can also throw it. And when you look at him, big 6'5", 237-pound, essentially a smaller tight end, if you will.
Yeah, I was about to say he built like he could play full, but he could step back and play fullback and lead block if he wanted to.
And he's thrown blocks before, which I wouldn't want to be on the other end of. But you look at him from a perspective of, a ball carrier, but then also a guy, like when he's out in space, he can make guys miss. But then the worst case is he could jump over you. We've seen that. He's hurdled guys. So really he's so intimidating because, yeah, okay, he doesn't have a Super Bowl ring, and a lot of people bring that up. I think still to this day we focus too much on rings and not enough on just the team aspect because, it's the greatest team sport in the world. Takes all 53, not just one. But Josh Allen does his best to try to put this team on his back. And I'll tell you, there is not anyone more dangerous. And I don't care if you say Patrick Mahomes, because Mahomes is the better quarterback. Okay, I'm not debating that. But Josh Allen is probably the most dangerous player in the NFL because he's got the size to break out of any sack, to break any tackle, and he's got probably the strongest arm in the National Football League. So the fact that he's learned how to throw with accuracy, he threw for 66.5 completion percentage last year. It's scary, man. If he cuts down the turnovers, like, this guy is the best player in football.
Yeah, he's decent. He's decent, Jake. And he's more than decent. Let's take that back. He's more than decent. But when it comes to the intimidating factor, Jake, he does lead our list. I know we have him as our graphic as well. He's gonna make you lose sleep at night, Jake. Not like you said, he can jump over you, he can run through you, he can run past you. I think that's really important. Even the team, they said, hey, you have to stop running as much because you want to preserve your body. I think someone mentioned he's kind of like the Big Ben of now, right? I know Big Ben's retired and he's been through a lot. He's done his due diligence, but we have Josh Allen now who could be that guy. I also want to add some wrinkles in here, Jake. I know you and I go back and forth of, hey, who's going to be on this list? I wanted to add Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. Now, playing against Lamar Jackson, that's intimidating because he's like Flash. He's like the Houdini. He's here one moment and he's there the next, right? A two-time MVP, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. You've seen some of the weightlifting stuff that Jalen Hurts has been going through. He has 500 pounds on his back since he played at Oklahoma. Jake, like we're Rams guys, right? We see you got Witherspoon's jersey behind you. When Jalen Hurts went to the Rams, this guy ate up the Rams defense because of missed tackles, right? He's forcing missed tackles. He can make plays with his legs and his arm. And so you mentioned Josh Allen possibly being the best player in the league. There's some people that, that can rival him in that list as well. But I do like starting with Josh Allen as one of the intimidating guys that, hey, if I line up against him tomorrow, I'm going to have a long day.
Yeah, and I mean, to your point with Lamar Jackson, that was definitely somebody that came to mind because he's become such a much better passer over the course of time. And I always said he's a better passer than give it credit for, more of a pocket passer than a guy that wants to throw on the run. And that's the thing, he's more of a running quarterback. So he's figured it out. He's had way more success and shown way more accuracy throwing on the run. And, end of the day, when you look at Lamar Jackson, he can flip the game on its head in an instant. And that's something. Josh Allen's fast. Lamar Jackson is Usain Bolt compared to some of the other guys on the field. So I totally agree with you there. And then Jalen Hurts, I mean, just the lower body strength, the way he's able to stay up through, contact and, make plays with his legs. I mean, it's impressive. Obviously, Mahomes, we mentioned as well. So there are definitely some guys. But I wanted to highlight Josh Allen because I'm like, the guy's got it all, the rocket arm, the crazy legs. I mean, he's still he ran 4.6. I mean, that's not slow.
Yeah, you got to strap your chin pad, your chin pad, like the defensive backs might have to wear that neck roll if they come up against Josh Allen because he might run you over or he might throw it over your head. So he does cause a lot of fits as a quarterback, and I think he's our starter for the intimidating quarterback on this team.
So let's move to running back. This was hard for me. Christian McCaffrey is somebody I thought of instantly, and he's definitely up there. But I wanted to start with Derrick Henry. They call him King Henry for a reason. Even his down years or whatever, like last year was a down year for him. I think he had close to 1,000 yards, if not 1,000 yards. And now he's playing with the guy that we were just talking about, Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, fourth, and I don't know if you've ever seen the graphic, but it's always like, this gets shown all the time on the broadcast. Derrick Henry's yards per carry goes from like 1.9 to like 2.7 to then 3.8, I believe, in the third quarter. And then the fourth quarter, it's over 5 because he just wears you down. He just completely physically wears you down. And it's really hard to stop him and bring him down. He's slippery, which is weird, but you really can't get a grip on him. It doesn't matter how good your grip strength is. This guy's running right through arm tackles like it's nothing. And then he's got a sledgehammer of a stiff arm. I mean, we've seen that before. He's made guys look silly. So, Derrick Henry, to me, is the most intimidating running back in football. Now, intimidating doesn't mean the best, because I still think Christian McCaffrey's the best and can run through arm tackles and be a problem. But Derrick Henry's been doing it forever. And Derrick Henry stays on the field despite the fact he's the wear and tear. It's going to get to him. But when he's taken on, 300, 400 touches every year and he's still on the field week 17 in the season, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think it goes to his offseason training, Jake. I think we always see the clips, Derrick Henry doing a one-legged squat on a Bosu ball, with some weights on his, I think too, when it comes to the running back position, they have to do some of the Pilates. They have to do different workouts to test their body in different ways. And you mentioned it. He's healthy. He's available. One other person that I also would want to mention here is Nick Chubb, who unfortunately does get hurt. He's another guy recently, right? 8 months out, and he's already squatting 600 pounds.
Oh, you saw that?
Yeah. I mean, these guys are just next level when it comes to preparation. I was doing that in college, Jake. When I got to the NFL, I was like, okay, let me focus on a little bit, different types of workouts. But these guys are still putting up weights and still striking fear in people's hearts. And Jake, I think I mentioned to you before, when I was playing for the Buccaneers, we went to go scrimmage the Titans, right? Off-season scrimmage before the season starts, and then play them the preseason game. And man, I mean, this guy, Derrick Henry, he's 6'3", 247 pounds. He's taking up a lot of space. We had to go pass pro against him, and we're trying to get through these trash cans. He's just taking up so much space. And you mentioned like that stiff arm from the heavens, once you get stiff arm, dude, you just get put away. And so I think for linebackers, for anybody, when you have to play against Derrick Henry, like, hey, go ahead and take some aspirin before the game start because it might get a little spooky. And not to mention, though, that he's playing for the Ravens now, and that backfield for the Ravens is going to be extra spooky. And we think we spoke about this during our offseason show when we talked in May. that the Ravens are going to be contenders this year just because of that backfield. They have spooky people in the backfield. They have the Houdinis and Lamar Jackson, and they have Derrick Henry, freaking Thor, whoever you want to call him. But like I said, I want to shout out Nick Chubb as well, because he may not be, stature-wise is a big of a guy as Derrick Henry is, but he's explosive, he's powerful, and he will run through your face mask. And Christian McCaffrey, I think you mentioned it, he strikes fear in people's hearts because not only do you have to stop him in the gap, which it'll be tough to do, but in pass pro, right, especially on the goal line as a linebacker, Jake, you always have options where they can run a quick angle route where they can act like they're going outside and they go inside, they beat your leverage and they score. And he can throw the football, dude. What can this guy not do? And I think that gives people fits. The intimidating list, Jake, is for defensive coordinators, for offensive coordinators to be like, dude, we got to play this guy this week. What are we going to do? And I think Christian McCaffrey, he causes that issue for most coordinators, and especially in the running back room.
No, I absolutely agree. And, by the way, can confirm Henry had 1,100 yards last year in a down year. So, I mean, that's where we're at with him, is that even in a down year, he's getting double-digit touchdowns, 1,100 yards. I mean, I think he's going to be totally fine. I know he hit 30. Oh, no, the 30 wall. He's not built like everybody else, so he'll be fine. And he's going to be playing, like you just mentioned, with Lamar Jackson. Moving on to wide receiver. This one was tough for me. Maybe I'll probably get pushback on this. The number one receiver that I have, because we have two starters. The number one here is Cedarian CeeDee Lamb. And the reason for that, 135 receptions last year, over 1,700 yards, 12 touchdowns, but he's built like a running back. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, okay? And when he has the ball in his hands, he is as hard to bring down as Henry sometimes. I mean, when he really is, like, he's feeling it, he's really physically imposing. So, look, I think CeeDee Lamb is a special talent. Being able to move the way he does at 6'2", 200, I'm not saying no one can do it, but it's impressive. And, he's also a reminder that you can't focus too much on 40 times, because you know how many times you've seen a receiver run a 4.3 and everyone's like, oh, he should go in the first round. Didn't CeeDee Lamb run like a 4.5 something? Who cares about 40 times? His play speed is a 4.3. That's what it feels like to me. So he's special. Dak has himself one of the best receivers in the game. And I think he's intimidating because from a standpoint of, he has that prototypical 6'2", 200 size, but then you look at the way he moves with that. He's going to go up there and high point the football. Dak Prescott can throw it a long way. And because he has CeeDee Lamb, he can be like, hey, CeeDee, go 60 yards down the field. I'm just going to throw it up. And he's just going to come down with it. So when you factor that into the fact that he's a great route runner, can create separation, and then what he does after the catch, yeah, he is absolutely intimidating.
Yes, he is. And, people give the Cowboys mess because they do great in offense, right? They're leading every category on offense, and then they just fall short come the playoffs. And that's neither here nor there, Jake. We're not here to bash the Cowboys at all, but CeeDee Lamb is a big reason for that. He does cause fits. He has to be double teamed anytime he's on the football field. So that is noted. And Jake, as we talked about, I kind of want to add some other wrinkles in there. Of course, DK Metcalf, he's my guy. I mean, 6'4", 235.
Shredded.
Shredded, right? I mean, we've all seen his draft stuff. He took his shirt off and Pete Carroll went crazy. The guy only eats candy and 1 meal per day. We get that. But one thing I will say, his numbers these past couple of years, right? They've been a little, and so for DK, I think the intimidating list, he makes it because of his size and of his ability, runs a 4.3 in the 40. And he just strikes fear. I mean, linebackers and defensive backs, you have to get ready to fight that game because he's going to talk some mess to you, if he catches the ball. So DK, I think, does strike a lot of fear. And also in the pass blocking game, when he has to, run blocking, when he has to run block, I think he has the ability to dump some people. And another thing too, Jake, I know he's not I know we have some other receivers to go through, but I also want to add in there Mike Evans as well. I want to go back to the clip in his run blocking clip when it was a safety from the Bengals, I think it was. He just dumped him on his head. I don't know if Mike Evans has that same fight in him, but I think DK kind of has that same type of scrappiness that Mike Evans used to have. But I also want to throw out Mike Evans because he will score on top of your head, right? He will bring that ball down like a basketball player. So I want to throw on Mike Evans and DK Metcalf for my two receivers there.
Yeah, I like the Mike Evans pick, especially because you know him and you know the whole work and everything that he's gone through and everything. But I gotta say, okay, Tyreek Hill, like I wanted to put him at 1. He's not the most physically imposing. He's 5'10", $191. I will say he is way more jacked than people realize. That's not easy to bring down when he's got legitimate like structure there. Right. It's hard to bring down when a guy's filled out like that. That's hard to bring down. He's not just a small, speedy guy. Like it's not the case. He's 5'10", which isn't really small. Isaac Bruce is 5'10", so or Marshall Faulk, excuse me, But Tyreek Hill, 191 pounds, closer to 200. CeeDee Lamb's 200. So, he's got some structure there, but 119 receptions last year, almost 1,800 yards, 13 touchdowns, was on pace to actually break Calvin Johnson's record at one point, suffered an injury. But when you talk about a guy that can turn any given play into a touchdown, whether it's from the 1 yard line, his own 1 yard line, at the opponent's 1 yard line, at the 50, it doesn't matter where he is on the field. He is a threat anytime he touches the ball to take one bad angle and absolutely take advantage of it. And I don't care that he's 30. He has shown no signs of slowing down. He is absolutely, and I'll also say this. I know this year we had, was it Xavier Worthy that broke the record for 40-yard dash? Mm-hmm. Tyreek Hill's still the fastest in the NFL.
Yeah.
We watch him on TV because I don't care how fast you ran in shorts and a T-shirt. Mm-mm. When I watch this guy running in pads and he's just, it's insane. Like he can take a quick slant and it's an 80-yard touchdown, just like that.
Yeah. My guy, I think he said on a recent interview, he was like, if I didn't play football, I'd be the fastest person in the world. And so I don't doubt it at all, Jake. He was a world-class runner back in high school. And to be honest, he would be running in Paris right now if he was not playing football. And so Tyreek Hill, we talk about speed kills dreams at night because players won't be able to sleep because they're like, hey, I got to go up against this guy. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, but I might get scored on today. And so each defensive coordinator says, hey, when we're playing against Tyreek Hill, back the heck up. At all times, just back up and make sure he's being double teamed because like you said, if not, he will make teams pay. And so I always tell the story, Jake, when we were punting against the Chiefs when I was playing for the Buccaneers, and we punted over there to the left, and we started running to the right because we knew as soon as he caught the ball, he would be over here just like that. And so Tyreek Hill, he does cap off that wide receiver list, like you mentioned. Also, I want to throw in a little Jamar Chase as well, Jake. The guy Jamar Chase playing with, his quarterback from college and Joe Burrow, he does strike fear as well. My guy's calf muscles are built like people's legs. You know what I mean? So he does have elite speed as well. And I think he's one of the top 5 receivers in the game. Not only is he intimidating to go against, but I think he will give you some work similar to a CeeDee Lamb, right? Jamar Chase will give you numbers and he will give you a fit during the football game. But I'm going back with my guy, Mike Evans and DK Metcalf. I think those two, their stature, their build, and mentally what they bring to the game, hey, you got to get your boxing gloves on with those guys.
Yeah, I got to throw in another honorable mention here. Probably should be here. Cooper Kupp, because when he's healthy, that dude is impossible to break. He cannot be brought down. And he's one of the best route runners in football. He has some of the best natural hands in the game. He's a red zone threat. He's a third down threat. He came up clutch in the Super Bowl. Cooper, if he stays healthy, I think he's going over 1,500 this year. I really do. And so, yeah, I wanted to make mention of him.
Yeah,
but
I think real quick, Jake, I think people don't realize for Cooper Kupp is some of the Christian McCaffrey. Like you look at him, you're like, wait, what is he about to do? Like, nah, I'm about to jack him up, and then they give you 100 yards and 8 catches a game. You're like, oh, I need to prepare better. So Cooper Kupp is a guy that will strike fear in people's hearts. And Puka Nacua, you got to watch out for Puka because I mean he's there to work too.
Yeah, no, they both of them, I would say, and you know, with Kupp, as we get into the tight ends here, I'll say this: Kupp had 400-yard games last year. A lot of people don't realize that, and despite missing like 5-6 games, he finished with almost 800 yards. So it is a reminder. And actually, before he got hurt in 2022, when nothing went right for the Rams, there were injuries galore. He was well on his way to having another crazy season. So I think a lot of people forget if Kupp's healthy, he's one of the best.
Yeah.
When he's hurt, he can't do anything. And that's the same with anybody. So, you know, that's what we have there. But tight end, I'm going to say George Kittle here. George Kittle is an absolute warrior. I mean, this is somebody who, at the end of the day, like, I mean, I had a chance to talk with him coming out of, you know, Iowa. And I knew, you know, obviously a good dude and easy to root for. But the reason I even asked him for an interview in the first place was because I watched his film at Iowa, and he embodies everything that Iowa wants. I mean, he told me straight up, you cannot play tight end at Iowa if you can't block. It's really that simple. You can't go to Iowa if you can't block. Like, it's that simple. So really, George Kittle is just a warrior, okay? Mm-hmm. Forget about all the receiving aspects of that. He's the best blocking tight end I've ever seen in my life. I don't know a tight end that actually prefers to block more than catch the ball. I don't care what anyone says. People are like, oh, George Kittle only had 1 target in the Super Bowl. I don't think it really matters to him. I don't think he cares. I think obviously he likes scoring touchdowns, right? But he loves to block. You can hear him in the mic'd up screaming. Like, he loves doing it. He absolutely loves it. So he's intimidating because he'll put you 6 feet under, and then he'll catch a 70-yard seam buster over the top of your defense because you forgot he existed. So he's incredible.
He reminds me, like, I think when you're about to go against George Kittle, it's like a WWE match. Like, just get ready because he's going to be talking smack. He's going to try to bury your neck into the ground. And then also he's going to try to catch the ball over your head and scoring you, spike the ball, and then talk more mess. I think about George Kittle. I kind of see like that Gronk personality where these guys are just unhinged. And you know, the night before that, like, I have to eat my Wheaties because he's going to give me fits in both ways, in the run game and in the pass game. Of course, you got to think about adding to this list your Travis Kelce, your Mark Andrews. Travis Kelce, of course, because as a linebacker, Jake, when you get one-on-one calls against him and George Kittle, you just know the ball is going to him, right? When you're that one guy, you're flexed out by yourself. It's a trip set and there's 3 receivers on the other side and you're by yourself against that tight end. You know he's getting the rock. So George Kittle and Travis Kelce are both guys where you tap your helmet to the safety like, hey, help me out over here. Help me out because I know if I don't get any help, it's going to be a touchdown. And George Kittle and Travis Kelce do strike that fear in people's hearts. And Jake, I know we're spending a lot of time here on offense during the show, and I know we got to get to the defense as well. But when I just want to say this before we do get into the offensive linemen, blocking and tackling is some of the hardest things to do in football. And if you lean into that, that is something that kind of is like, it's a head scratcher. Like, hey, why does this guy love blocking so much? And so George Kittle, we talk about that mentality. He has a mentality that will intimidate people no matter if they want it to or not. And so I do like him as number 1 on our list as well.
No, I hear you. And I mean, like you said, it's a hard thing to do. And when you can do it at the level these guys do, that's why they're on this list. We'll go rapid fire through the offensive line because I think a lot of these guys, I mean, it's pretty well known. They call him Trent Silverback Williams for a reason. Trent Williams is our left tackle here. Left guard is Quentin Nelson, who is widely regarded as the most psycho guard in the league.
Yes.
He is just an animal. Center is Frank Ragnow. I don't think I've ever seen a tougher center in my life scouting the draft. When he came out, I was like, okay, he's going to be special. And he plays through crazy injuries. He's just a freak. Zach Martin, kind of in the same vein as Quentin Nelson. I would say he's a little bit more of a conservative Quentin Nelson. Okay. He's not screaming like he's George Kittle every play.
Right.
But yeah, he's a bad man. And then right tackle, I would say Penei Sewell. And I know you wanted to mention Jordan Mailata as well, on this offensive line. And Mailata has just a crazy background.
Rugby guy.
Rugby.
Yeah.
And they take a flyer on him. Like, they're like, all right, we'll just take him the 7th round. He ends up being one of the best tackles in the league.
Yeah.
So got to give him a lot of credit. And Penei Sewell is just, we knew it coming out of Oregon. He was gonna be a dog.
Yeah, and some of our brothers out, in Samoa, when you get, I'm from California, Jake. So someone always tell us, don't ever argue with Samoan families, because anytime you argue with one, they're gonna have 30 other family members coming to jack you up. That's the women involved too. And so we always knew that growing up in Southern California. And when you see some of the Samoan brothers come and play football, that personality, it translates, right? You mentioned Penei Sewell. This guy can move. Like I said, his legs are as big as a truck. He can move. He can run. Jordan Mailata, 6'8", 365. I mean, come on, dog. Like, pass rushing against a guy like that. I'm only 6 feet tall, so going against a guy like that, that's like a basketball player's height, but he's 365. And so just know that you're going to get that hand to the chest, and it's going to stop you from breathing a little bit. And then going back to Trent Williams on the outside as well. This guy loves to fight, man. I mean, he might have to do UFC after that, but these guys are intimidating, and they will make you lose sleep at night. So I love that list, Jake, when it comes to the offensive line.
Yeah, and then the defensive line, it's sad we can't say Aaron Donald. I mean, he'd be the captain of the defense, but he retired. So we're going to go with Chris Jones here, who I think a lot of people have just assumed is the next man up at this point.
Yeah.
Even though he's 30. So Aaron Donald just retired, and he's 32. So who knows? But Chris Jones is a bad man. 6'6", 310 pounds. I don't know why the Chiefs were using him as an edge defender at one point, because this is working. Let's try, rushing you off the edge. That's when he started to have kind of, he went down a little bit. When he got back into the trenches, you saw it. He is absolutely disgusting, and he will just completely blow up a game. And he has a lot of experience playing in big games where he blows up the game. So Chris Jones, to me, is a no-brainer there. And DeForest Buckner, I also want to bring up. On the Colts, was on the Niners. They stupidly traded him away. No idea why. 6'7". I mean, the guy is just an alien. And he had that crazy, I think he still does. But remember coming out of Oregon, he had the crazy face mask where he looked like he was Predator.
Yeah. I mean, that's intimidating, right? This is just so people don't forget. This is the intimidating list, and I do like the defensive side, Jake, because the defense is supposed to strike fear in people's hearts. And Chris Jones and DeForest Buckner, they definitely do that. Chris Jones, he might get 8 pressures on you that game and maybe 2 to 3 sacks. So as an offensive lineman, just know when you're going up against Chris Jones, it's going to be a long day. And DeForest Buckner, he's super tall, and he gets after the quarterback as well. Another person, Jake, he's getting a little bit up there in age, but Calais Campbell as well. I mean, my guy's 6'9" or whatever it is, and similar to who we talked about before, Jordan Mailata, he provides that height. So I'm sending a guy like DeForest Buckner or Calais Campbell out to the ring toss, just so people could take those photos and be like, yo, who is that? And so,
who is that?
Yeah, exactly. These are all guys that you take out to the coin flip. Have them do the coin flip just to strike some fear in people's hearts. But I want to add Calais Campbell to that list as well.
Yeah, and we'll add some edge here because wanted to add at least a few. Myles Garrett, 6'4", 272, crazy athlete, number 1 overall pick in 2017. They call him Superman, they call him Flash, they call him Bigfoot. I mean, all sorts of names that they call him. But this guy has 88.5 sacks since he was drafted in 2017. So 7 years. He's had 88.5 sacks. He has been incredible for the Browns. And, I mean, the guy has had double digits every year except for his rookie season. Okay?
Yeah.
he is freakish.
Yeah.
And you look at just all the different accolades. I mean, this is somebody who is a 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro, defensive player of the year, reigning defensive player of the year. It's impressive, like like the body of work and everything that he's done in this league, because being a number 1 overall pick out of Texas A&M, and you're expected, because right away Von Miller comes to play.
Yeah.
Right. But then on top of having to live up to that hype, you're also the number 1 overall pick. So the fact that he ended up being as good as he did, I don't think is talked about nearly enough, because we give a lot of credit, and rightfully so. Everyone loves a good comeback story, a good underdog story. Tom Brady, 199 overall. But I don't feel like we give enough credit to the guys that go number 1 overall, had those crazy, expectations that are put on their plate just because they were better than everybody else to get to the point of where they're getting drafted number 1 overall. And then, they actually live up to expectations.
Yeah.
I think a good example of this is in the NBA with LeBron James. I still think, for whatever reason, people do not understand coming up from, high school and having that much on your plate to still be as great as he ended up being, and probably better than people expected. That's insane.
That is. Yeah, it's also a decision thing, right? You have to consistently make great decisions when you're in the limelight, and Myles Garrett has, Jake. I think the things that intimidate other people by Myles, I think, Jake, is the things he does off the field. Some of those clips that you see of him jumping like the 40-foot vert box. You see him, you're talking about LeBron James playing basketball. This guy's drill up the court like a point guard and dunking it on people. And then one thing I always remember is his Halloween outfits. I think he recently went to the ESPYs with some like old English type of outfit, but he had a Halloween outfit one time, Jake, where he was like the Grim Reaper, and he had all the quarterbacks like on like like stone posts in his yard. I was like, dude, you're a little bit deeper than rap. You got some things going on that that you like to strike fear in people's heart, right? And I think we think about intimidating athletes. Myles Garrett is one of the first people that pops up because he does strike fear. And I think recently PFF put it out where a defensive coordinator said it, is they said, if you don't double team him, he will destroy you. And
Absolutely.
I think that's facts. I mean, in former MVP, defensive MVP. So Myles Garrett, you talked about Chris Jones. These are guys that are in that same realm as that Aaron Donald. They can bring that type of gameplay to the football field. No,
absolutely. Big fan of pretty much everyone we're going to bring up here. Micah Parsons is another one because, Micah Parsons can play inside backer. He can play off ball. He can drop into coverage.
I didn't know where to put him. I was like, shoot.
He's got 40.5 sacks in 3 years. I mean, he's had at least 13 sacks in every year he's been in the league. And I believe he led the league in pressures this year, or at least was doing so. He's finished in the AP Defensive Player of the Year voting, top 3 every year he's been in the league. He's essentially the closest thing we've gotten to Aaron Donald, where right away, this guy's already one of the best. And to me, he is so, in my opinion, he's so intimidating because you can play him anywhere on the field, which gives, all sorts of different mismatches and all that. He's a crazy athlete and he's relentless. I mean, this is a guy that does not ever give up on an assignment. So look, I think Micah Parsons, if I'm being honest, no disrespect to Myles Garrett, I think he should have won Defensive Player of the Year, believe it or not.
I mean, Jake, and also too, right? Like my thing for Micah Parsons is they're both, him and Myles Garrett, both freak athletes, but
absolutely,
Myles Garrett, I don't think he's beating Nick Chubb in like 50-yard races, right? Like
Parsons might.
Parsons is right. Parsons is, but I don't know if Myles Garrett is. But Parsons, you talk about the athletic ability. He might beat Nick Chubb in a 50-yard race, right? He might give Tyreek Hill some run for his money in that first 10. Michael Parsons, you talk about, I think he's a unicorn in a little bit where I'll say this, Jake, he's intimidating because he can call game at any point in that football game where he can get to the quarterback and say, hey, this ball doesn't belong to you anymore. You know what I mean? Where he can literally just kind of flip the game on its head. And
that's polite.
Yeah, and that can get really spooky, Jake. When the one guy can be like, "Hey, I don't want you all to score this drive, so I'm gonna like Aaron Donald. I'm just gonna force our team to get the ball now. It's ours. Give me that." And I think he has that ability. Myles Garrett does too, but I think Michael Parsons does as well because, like you said, this man can cover. This man can do so many things that it just doesn't make any sense. And also, too, T.J. Watt. I got to throw him in there, Jake. T.J. Watt. I mean,
yeah.
Come on, guy. This guy can go drop back in a flat coverage and pick the ball off, and go get 2-3 sacks in the game. Their ability to change the game is insane.
I think he's better than his brother. I do. And that's saying a lot because his brother would totally be on this list.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have a guy, he's 95.5 sacks since 2017. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
He's hit the quarterback 198 times. Like,
that's a nightmare. Like, you gotta go to sleep. Like, dude, I gotta play against TJ today. Like,
he's forced 27 fumbles, Cam, since 2017.
Yeah, you're a game changer. You're a game breaker at that point.
Yeah,
you're a game breaker. So
it's crazy. 45 pass breakups, despite the fact he's an edge defender. 7 interceptions.
That's
it's pretty wild. So moving on with that. I also want to say Max Crosby, and then we'll get into the off-ball linebackers.
Yeah.
Now, I'll say that Max Crosby, like another guy that I had a privilege of interviewing, when he was coming out of Eastern Michigan, and he was different, man. Like this guy, watching his tape, something happened because I don't think he was as ferocious in college as he became in the NFL. Like he just absolutely hit another level. And this is kind of a reminder, the player that you're drafting is a prospect. So there's projection there. It's not necessarily, hey, you're getting this guy right out of college. That's not always the case. And Max Crosby went in the 3rd round to the surprise of some people. They thought maybe, okay, 4th, 5th, maybe 6th, there's some projection there. There's some development that needs to happen. Well, it happened. He's 6'5", 255. He's got the neck tattoos. He's all tatted up and everything. He's intimidating. Yeah. He's absolutely intimidating. He has had 52 sacks since 2019. He had 14.5 last year, which was a career high. He had a career high, and he led the league in tackles for loss back-to-back years, 22 and 23. So he is a problem. He is a problem for any quarterback. And he's played all the games except for he missed 6 starts his first year. He's played every single game since 2020. That's crazy.
Yeah, and one other thing too I want to add is he soaked up a lot of game from Khalil Mack and Chandler Jones. I think he's had a perfect combination of like, hey, you guys just throw me some of your mana, throw me some of that good energy. And I'm gonna bottle it up. And I'm going to kick some ass. You mentioned just the tattoos, just the swag. That as a offensive guy, you just got to know, hey, not only am I going to get some allow some pressures, maybe allow a sack or two, but also he's going to talk his smack. And I think that that does strike some fear in people's hearts. And Max Crosby, I mean, you just talk about some of those underdogs that you need to, hey, show him a little bit more love. I think he's going to be one of the guys, hopefully a walking Hall of Famer, the way he's trajecting right now. So he's doing a good job. I like Max Crosby on this list as well.
Yeah, no, he's really impressive. Roquan Smith, crazy sideline to sideline energy. Demario Davis is a dog as well.
Yeah.
Fred Warner, I mean, is all over the field. And his teammate, Dre Greenlaw, who's all over the field, but he's intimidating because I'm just going to say it. I think he's a dirty player.
Oh,
I mean, there's a tweet out there somewhere. I could find it in case people are wondering. He literally tries to snap Cam Akers' neck like he's John Wick. So
you feel like a Vontaze Burfict. So Vontaze Burfict, I feel like would be on this list hands down. Like he would be the number 1 linebacker. But yes, Jake, I see what you're saying here. Is on this intimidating list. Some people may fear of losing a rep or one-on-one, and some people may fear of losing a limb or maybe losing, some playing time as well for the future because some guys are just ferocious and vicious on this defensive side of the ball. And You know, I'm not going to go out and say he's a dirty player. I'm just going to say
you're
that
a former player, so I get that. I respect that.
Yeah, I'm a linebacker as well. And what I will say, he plays on the edge, Jake. We call this Off the Edge podcast. He's the definition of he's off the edge, brother, where, you know, that line, he just doesn't live on the line. He kind of lives over the line. And so he's going to have to tighten that up a bit, right? Because we have to protect our teammates. But
I hope he's like, I wish him the best speedy recovery and everything. I wasn't happy that he got hurt or anything. So let's put that to bed. But there was one thing I do want to say about him. You have the whistle. So you have guys that play right before the whistle blows. You have guys that play right to the whistle. You have guys that play through the whistle. And then you have Dre Greenlaw.
Hey, Jake has a bone to pick with Dre. But, hey, also, too, I think what you're getting at as well is there's a place for what you can do in football. And there's a place that you know, there's just boundaries, brother. There's boundaries, and some people cross those boundaries. And I know we have on our list, too, there's a DB on here that we're going to have to talk about as well who crosses some boundaries, too.
Oh, yes, we do.
But also, this is the defensive side of the football, Jake. And I know we're coming up on time here in a little bit, but the defensive side of the football, you got to be a dog. And there's no room for, injuring other people on the field intentionally, but you got to be a dog. And Dre Greenlaw's a dog. He's just a dog that sometimes you got to put on timeout because he does a little too much.
Yeah, just a little bit there. So next up, we have, I think he has a chance when it's all said and done to be the greatest all-around cornerback of all time. And that is Jalen Ramsey. I've never seen a cornerback want to tackle the way he wants to tackle.
Yeah.
I don't think Deion has either, but
right. Deion, I mean, I don't know if Deion wasn't tackling Jake. Deion wasn't tackling like Ramsey's tackling now. I mean, Ramsey is picking people up and then putting them into the ground, and that's
linebackers, like a straight linebacker, like how you would tackle, like form tackling, textbook tackling. That's a corner. Okay. Yeah. Corners are typically ankle biters. Like that's what you normally. So that's why, like, it is a knock that I have when guys are coming out of the draft. I'm like, oh yeah, he doesn't really try to make a tackle. I understand slot corners that are, 5'7" and a $155 soaking wet, not wanting to form tackle Gronkowski. Right. But I mean, like, when you have a guy in Jalen Ramsey who knows, he's 6 foot 200, close. He's like Todd Gurley's size, right? So you have Todd Gurley essentially at cornerback. I mean, I want you to be able to make the tackle, and he doesn't do any of that. And he doesn't make any business decisions, if you know what I mean.
Especially
career
with career
decisions.
Who was it? His with Golden Tate, his brother-in-law, I guess.
Oh my God.
He kind of he took his off the field beef onto the field, and he
tried to put him through.
Yeah, he just wants to smoke. He wants to smoke. Jalen Ramsey wants to smoke. You got to put him on this list. He's a long, tall cornerback that's going to put his hands on people as well. And yeah, I mean, he's a beast. And I also want to add on there too, Jake, L'Jarius Sneed. I think after he put Tyreek Hill into the dirt, right, sent him to Cancun during the championship, I think I got to throw him on here, bro. L'Jarius Sneed. And we talk about another guy who he doesn't want to hurt folks, but he does kind of play. He gets a lot of fouls, a lot of yellow handkerchiefs on the field, and we can't really have that. But that's intimidating. If you're offensive coordinator, it's like, dude, I'm going to draw some flags on him, but also he might just jam my guy into next week. So
he might. He just might. I'll throw in another one. Devon Witherspoon from the Seahawks.
Yeah, he
plays like he wants to break his neck. He the way he puts his head into every single tackle, it's dangerous. I mean, that's how you have the Ryan Shazier thing. But I do really respect a guy that's willing to play balls to the wall like that, especially as a rookie cornerback coming out. That you can't really coach that. You either are that or you're not. And there's so many different ways to play every position. That's what's so fascinating about why we have these guys that are like, yeah, I like his game. When you hear that, you're like, what does that mean? That's what that means, is that there are a million different ways to play the cornerback position, and he plays it in a way that's fun to watch and you can respect. Moving on to the safeties, Cam, and then we'll wrap this up with the kicker and punter that you added. I did not add.
Gotta show love to specialists.
So the safeties here, Kyle Hamilton, who can play all over the field, the star role, the Where's Waldo role, can come up. He can blitz you. He can hit you into next week. He's got crazy range. So, he's
6'4".
intimidating because he can take away the ball. Then you got Minkah Fitzpatrick, who, I mean, he's very intimidating. He ended Nick Chubb's season. I don't think it was on purpose. I'm not saying that he's a dirty player. But I mean, very intimidating player. Then you have Derwin James, who is just crazy athletic. Probably the closest thing to Jalen Ramsey in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's looking at WWEU. You know what I mean? Like Travis Kelce when he picked him up and just boom, dumped him. And he's a play caller as well. So super smart. That's somebody that you just have to look out for when he's on the field. He's like, oh, wait, where is he at? Because I don't want to run into him.
Those FSU guys, man, I'll tell you. Yeah, and then last but not least, maybe Kirby Joseph. Okay. Now I really liked him coming out of Illinois. Maybe not so much now. I didn't like, first off, just because the hit is legal doesn't mean it's not dirty. I think the NFL needs to take a stand with those helmet to the knee type of hits, because just think about it. Hey, we might play this team in the playoffs. And I know this happened in the playoffs with Tyler Higbee, but hey, we might play this team in the playoffs. If I took out George Kittle, that would sure make our life a lot easier. And there's nothing that anyone can do because there's no targeting in football. Like there's no calls or anything like that. And they don't care. They're so focused on the head injuries, which rightfully so, that they forget that the ACL tear means it's the end of the season for whoever gets it. Yeah. And that is my biggest issue, because it didn't just happen once. It also happened with TJ Hawkinson the same exact way. So Higbee had the injury. Kirby Joseph dove right into his knee, and then he dove right into Hawkinson. It looks like he's doing it on purpose and not like in a way to try to injure them, but just like his only way of tackling is hitting right in the knee. And it seems intentional.
It seems intentional. It seems a little, it's very dangerous. I think when I saw that hit, I was like, oh, the Lions aren't messing around. It may just be him, right? It may just be his mentality, the way he's tackling the football. So, yeah, that was unsettling. I do hope that the guys are able to recover fully from those hits. Absolutely. And that these defensive players keep our guys safe. I mean, I know you gotta strike fear. You got to be on this intimidating list each year, right? But, yeah, just play safe and make sure guys are good.
Yeah, and there was another guy that he did it to, but I totally forgot. If you had asked me in like January or February, I probably would have had my list up and everything.
Yeah.
You know, I've since forgotten. It's not hard to forget why TJ Hawkinson might not be ready for week 1. And it's not hard to forget why Tyler Higbee is not going to be ready for week 1. And it's because of Kirby Joseph. Nobody else. It's because of Kirby Joseph. So he's on this list because he's intimidating, because he could end your season in a blink of an eye. Anyone could, but he's now done it twice to the same position at tight end. So we move on to the last guys. You brought up Justin Tucker, who's at this point, I'd say he's the best kicker of all time.
I mean, that's kind of scary though, Jake, right? You know, your team is like, hey, this guy Justin kicks the ball, you know it's going to go in. So I'm just
66 yards. Yeah,
I'm losing sleep. I'm like, dude, come on, please.
Yeah. And then AJ Cole. Why AJ Cole? I'm curious.
I mean, AJ Cole, you got to give it to him. My man made the Pro Bowl, and he can tackle a little bit. Not many punters can tackle, Jake. So, Mike, if you're gonna be willing, I play on the punt team. If you're gonna be willing to stick your nose in there and make some tackles, AJ Cole's a guy to do it. So go ahead and sign him up. Play for the Raiders. You know, when you play for the Raiders, Jake, it's the black hole down there. You got to be a tough guy. So go ahead and throw him on there, brother.
I mean, I'll throw in the hat for Ethan Evans of the Rams. That rookie, man, he is jacked. So, I mean, just off that, you know.
Yeah, you got to give it to him. Why not?
I wouldn't throw Hecker because remember Michael Bennett was chasing Hecker?
Yes, the Seattle. I was gonna put Hecker on there because.
And then you thought about that.
The Seattle Seahawks game. I was literally in that game. But I will say with Johnny though is he can throw touchdowns. Right. Yeah. And he can be your backup quarterback. So we talk about intimidating is some of these specialists can bring a different level to the game that can make you think a little bit more than you should. And I think some of these guys do that. But yeah, this has been a great list, Jay. Great catching up. And man, we're just getting started, right? Guys reporting back to training camp, I think, today. So it's going to get a lot better when it comes to football because I've been watching a lot of soccer, a lot of basketball lately. So it's kind of time for this football stuff to get going.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely ready for it. I'm watching a lot of baseball, you know, and I think, you know, this year especially this year, having a team that has now won the Super Bowl back-to-back, I think it makes it more exciting because, normally you have the target on your back, but now the Chiefs have like way bigger than a target on their back. Everyone is gunning for the Chiefs. So can they make it a three-peat? Who's going to stop them? Who knows? Honestly, who knows? It was a fun NFL draft. A lot of great talent just came into the league. Guys like Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm excited for, guys like Drake May and Caleb Williams. And, I think the league got a new batch of really talented players while also losing Aaron Donald and Jason Kelsey and, Tom Brady, not this year, but, recently. So it's interesting because we're starting to talk like a lot of guys that came up on this list, Cam, we're talking about them in their 30s. I remember when they came out of the draft. I covered them when they came out of the draft. Yeah. So I'm starting to feel a little old. I'm not going to lie.
A little bit. Gray hair is coming in,
it feels like there's there's like a new era coming.
Yeah, LeBron he's talking about he's not going to the 2028 Olympics. It's like, come on, bro. What do you mean? So sports are changing. Sports are changing.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Enjoy while we can.
Yes, we will. So be sure to follow us on all social media at JK Bogan, at Cameron Lynch. Check out Off the Edge on YouTube. We have almost 700 subscribers. We haven't been extremely active on there, but we're going to start, putting more content out there. So you can check out all our stuff over there. We have plenty of stuff from the previous season talking about the draft. So if you ever want to see any of our takes and how well they did and all that, it's all right there. But until next time, thank you guys so much. Thank you, Bleach Report, and we'll see you guys soon.
Peace.